sound of hurried footsteps. Then Sarah, the nurse, burst into the room. "Mrs. Chen, there are men here. They say they're from Roosevelt Tower Security. They're demanding to search the premises." Caroline jumped to her feet, her face draining of what little color remained. "Daddy," she whispered. "He must have noticed the copy missing from his study." Margaret moved with a speed that belied her age, crossing to her desk and retrieving both her letter and the document. "Sarah," she said calmly, "is the service elevator still broken?" Sarah nodded, confused. "Yes, they've had it locked down for maintenance all week." "Perfect!" Margaret turned to Caroline. "That elevator opens directly into the maintenance basement. The security men won't think to check there." She pressed the papers into Caroline's hands. "Take these and go now." "But what about you?" Margaret's smile was sad but determined. "I've spent 45 years protecting your family's secrets. Perhaps it's time I stopped." Caroline hesitated for just a moment, then hugged Margaret fiercely. "I'll make this right," she whispered. "I promise." As Sarah led Caroline to the service elevator, Margaret sat back down in her chair by the window. She could hear the security team getting closer, their heavy footsteps echoing down the hallway. But she wasn't afraid. For the first time in years, she felt truly at peace. The truth was finally free. Through her window, she could see Roosevelt Tower catching the last light of day, its windows blazing orange and gold. Soon, those windows would reflect a very different kind of fire, the kind that comes from long-buried secrets finally seeing the light of day. But as the security team burst into her room, Margaret Chen simply smiled. After all, some fires are necessary for rebirth, and some fortunes, no matter how grand, cannot survive the weight of their own dark foundations. The real question was, what would rise from the ashes? The answer to that question, dear reader, would shock even Margaret herself. But perhaps we should save that revelation for another chapter. After all, the most devastating truths, like the most powerful storms, gather their strength in silence before breaking upon the world. And this storm was just beginning to gather. The interrogation room at the 19th precinct was a study in institutional indifference. Margaret Chen sat perfectly straight in an uncomfortable metal chair, her hands folded in her lap, while Detective Sandra Ramirez paced back and forth like a caged tiger. "Let me get this straight," Ramirez said, stopping to lean against the scratched metal.